There's a village out past the last paved road, the kind of place most maps don't bother showing. A handful of homes built the way they've been built for generations. Mud brick walls formed by hand, thatch roofs that have been rethatched every few years, a few stone foundations that have held for decades. The way of life is simple, primitive, not poor, just traditional. The nearest city is a full day's drive on dirt roads. No running water in the homes, but everyone has what they need. Gardens behind every house, goats and chickens in the yard. A community that's existed this way for longer than anyone can remember. And the homes were built the way homes have always been built here. Mud and straw and whatever was close by. Good enough for one generation, good enough for the next, until it wasn't. Now imagine if they decided to do something about it, not with materials from a hardware store hours away, but with trash that was piling up along every road and ditch. This is what happens. It started at a village meeting under the large tree at the center of town. A few elders who had watched the last few rainy seasons get worse and worse. A young man who'd traveled to other villages and seen how some were starting to build differently. The idea was simple and radical. Tear down every traditional home and rebuild them using garbage. Plastic bottles picked up from the roadsides. Old tires discarded along highways. Cardboard that soaked through every wet season. The village had no construction budget, no government programs to help. What it had was a growing pile of plastic waste that washed up in the ditches after every storm, and a community that decided it was time to stop waiting for someone else to solve the problem. Neighbors started showing up at dawn with bundles of sorted plastic. The old storage shelter behind the village center became a sorting depot. For months they collected thousands of bottles hauled from the roads, hundreds of tires from the nearest garage, sacks of cardboard that would have been burned if nobody had taken it. They learned fast. Compressed plastic bottles became dense, interlocking bricks, fire-resistant, structurally sound. Nobody in the village had seen anything like it. Plastic holding weight, holding up walls, holding against the storms. Cardboard was pulped and pressed into interior panels. Old tires were cut and woven into insulation that actually worked. Better than the gaps in the mud brick walls they'd had before. No nails, no glue. Just pieces that locked together, like someone had figured out a way to turn trash into Lego. Within 3 months, people who'd built traditional homes their whole lives were operating presses and assembling walls. The village had always been self-sufficient in food. Now there was something else. Work, building, something new to learn together. 3 years later, every home in the village was new, not repaired, not patched, replaced entirely, built from materials the world had thrown away and forgotten. The mud brick was gone. In its place, walls of compressed plastic brick, smooth and solid, able to withstand the heavy rains that used to wash through. Inside, the tire brick insulation kept the homes cooler in the intense dry season heat and warmer in the cold nights that came without warning. Fire resistant, pest resistant, built to last generations, not seasons. And the cost to the families who moved in? Nothing, because the materials had been free all along. You'd never seen a supply chain like it. Trash as the foundation of a new home. The first families moved in and said the same thing. This feels like something new. Their parents had lived in homes built from the land. Their children were growing up in homes built from waste. And those homes actually held against every storm. That was everything. A home that held. Within 18 months, the village looked different from the road. Homes that didn't wash away when the rains came. A community meeting space with solid walls and a roof that didn't need rethatching every year. For the first time, The village felt like something that would still be standing in 50 years. But by year 4, the harder conversation started. Could this work in another village? Could a whole district do this? The engineering held. The homes survived every storm the rainy season threw at them. But building codes, such as they existed in the region, hadn't been written for compressed plastic bricks and tire brick insulation. When the regional authority got involved, they had questions without answers. No precedent. No official certification. Nothing in any handbook that said trash could become a proper home. And there were honest material limits. Plastic degrades in the intense sun, even compressed. The tires dry out over years. When these homes needed replacing, in 20 years, 30, would there be enough trash to rebuild? Or would every village need its own processing system to recycle the old into the new? Some families left. The new homes looked different from what they knew. Some preferred the traditional way, even if it meant patching every year. But the ones who stayed had something many villages in the region didn't. Homes that held. A story that was theirs. Something that made outsiders actually stop and look, instead of driving past on their way to somewhere else. By year 6, this village was being visited. Leaders from other villages made the long drive to see it. Researchers came from further away to document what had happened. A regional development organization sent someone to ask whether this could spread beyond this one place. The official answer to whether it could work elsewhere, maybe, but only if the community wanted it. Only if local leadership pushed through every obstacle. Only if people were willing to learn an entirely new way to build. You couldn't copy-paste this village onto somewhere else. It worked because of this specific community, these specific people, this specific land. But the idea spread anyway, not as a blueprint, but as proof that traditional villages could build something new without waiting for outside help. And somewhere else, there's another village that looks exactly like this one did. Past the last paved road, with homes that wash away in every rainy season, building the same way they've always been built. So what would happen if that village decided to rebuild with what it already had? For a while, everything looks impossible. The materials seem too strange. The old ways feel safer. Everyone says it can't be done. But somewhere in that struggle, something gets built. A community that made something with its own hands. From nothing, from waste, from what everyone else threw away. That's the part that never gets taken apart.